guys, this is the third day of my poly hairpiece that goes all the way back to there, the larger one. As you can see with the front hairline, etc., no real problems. I've shaved my sideburns a little bit shorter. Now, I've just realized I've got to get more front hair bleach. I've run out. Don't run out of supplies. So just then on eBay, I just ordered 4 more. I think they're about $8 each, Australian, with about $9 of shipping on top. So I think I spent about 40 bucks to get 4 more. Does that work out? 4 times 8 is 32 plus $8 shipping, 40. Okay, something like that. And then so, is 4 times 8 32? Don't let me get away with that. It is, isn't it? 16 times, yeah, okay, fine. Right, so I just ordered some more bleach because I can't make more hair pieces without that bleach. I can make them, but they'll have to stand by, not to be worn, otherwise it'll be a wall of hair. So I've got to wait till that bleach arrives. Now, I've only got 3 existing hair pieces remaining. One is the used one that I pulled off my head, the lace one the other day, which I pre-cut, which is a lot shorter, and I thought, nah, that's very good. I prefer the one I got on now, especially because it's poly, and the hairs are 4 inches long. It allows me to flow into the hair a bit better. Not that I'm always going to go with a brush back look. I prefer a brush forward look, just because I think it suits me better. And this is a bit kind of, hey, what the fuck hey, I'm walking here. What the fuck you looking at? Would you like a cup of coffee? This is the lace piece. Sorry, yeah, lace. So that's pre-cut, that's ready to go. That'll be fine, right? Given that I haven't got enough hair pieces, enough poly hair pieces. And then this is the final poly piece of the 3 that I cut. But if you ever saw that video where I was cutting them out, it was like this, this, and this on the hairpiece, 3 stencils. I tried to squeeze them in, but that resulted in 2 of them, these 2, having horizontal V-loops, and only this one up here, the one I'm wearing now, the best one, having nose to spine V-loops. I don't know why they're called loops, by the way. They're not loops, are they? They're stitchings. They should really be called U-stitchings or some other thing. V-loops? No. Anyway, also I was unable to get rid of that bit there, but I found in my experience that once that's under the poly and it's brushed into your hair, you can't see those numbers from the other side. So hopefully you haven't got one right there on the very front. Otherwise it's probably a lot more noticeable seeing numbers written back to front on your forehead. No good. So this one, I have bleached this, but there's not much you can do to make it any good. See, they're going side to side there. They're V-looping that way instead of that way. So really, I don't want to ever have to wear that. I want to throw this away as soon as I possibly have enough hair pieces to go around. With that though, if you have only got something like that, you can try to get away with a brush forward look for the entirety of the time you're wearing the hairpiece. And given that I prefer that anyway, I could probably get away with it, but there are times when you want sort of just brush forward, but still people would see the hairline in between the curtains. So, you gotta be careful about that stuff. So, I'll keep this on standby because I haven't got any real spares. The spares I've got are all too small. That's like 30 or 40 old pieces out of the hundreds probably of pieces that I've worn over the last 8 years. I wouldn't say hundreds. 200, well maybe 200, I don't know, maybe it has been hundreds. Most of them I've thrown out. But let's look at an old one, right? Like I say, I'm never going to clean the glue off an old lace piece. Most of these have glue on them, like that on the back. And just look how it gets worse and worse over time with weathering and so on. You never want to have to deal with that mess. So potentially, there's no real reason for me to store this, given that I'm probably not going to come back that way and make the shave zone small again. I'll probably keep it long forever. I don't like it this way. It's harder to glue and put things in position when it's this size, but there was quite a lot of recession happening right there, just above where my shave zone ended and my hairpiece ended. And so I shaved that bit out a bit extra. And so now all my hairpieces are bigger. I do have 2 hairpieces left at the moment, so I can cut out. These are both poly, 0.03mm poly from lordhair.com. And I'll cut these out for you, and I'll show you how I'll use my stencil inside these hairpieces. So for this first part, if you're doing this for the very first time, I'll give you links to everything, okay? I'm not going to give you links to how to find a marker and a pair of scissors. You can do that yourself, or a Chinese takeaway lint. Every person who owns hair has one of these things, made custom to their own head. I'm not going to teach you how to make this in this lesson today. If you want a rough guide of how to make this without properly wrapping your head in cling wrap and putting clear tape and then tracing it, and if you have to go all the way back there, either having a second mirror, like this plastic one, which looks really good, I love it for the shower, so that you can trace all the way around back there where your bald spot will be. It would be better if you had a second person if you could go back there, but for me it wasn't a big deal because I've got a front partial, so I can trace where I think it'll go. If you want to bypass all that stuff, you could just simply measure from there to there with a piece of string and then put it against a ruler or something. Don't forget, putting a ruler there and just bending it is not a very nice way to do it. You're better off getting a shoelace or any sort of piece of string or something like that and going that way and that way. Now you've got a rectangle dimensions of how you would cut this out, okay? So let's say 6 inches that way and 5 inches that way, or whatever else you need to do. Then at least you have a rough guide. Then you can glue that rectangle to your head. Hopefully you're able to at least guess how you want the hairline to be. You've drawn a curve and you cut around the curve as well. And then you've got the curve and then square back there. And then you can sort of like glue your scalp, and anything superfluous you cut off, right? You wear that for a while, and then next time when you take it off, if you want to take it off that same day you can, but it's nice to just like not have to worry about it. But you need a stencil, so if you do, you have to do that. And then you go, all right, now you'll take it off and then go, all right, well, I'll just use the extra information I've just garnered from doing that and transpose that into a new stencil. So the stencil will now be pretty good for you. You might have to tweak your stencil a little bit. I'll probably have to tweak mine. I've made mine fully symmetrical, but my shave zone and the front hairline are not symmetrical to one another, okay? This is the shape of an eye, and this is sort of more of the shape of an eye with a big clitoris up here somewhere, maybe. I don't know, it's not quite symmetrical. For example, when I take this one off eventually, I'll be able to sort of, I snipped away a bit of the plastic around the edges that was overhanging because I didn't want that there. That's quite awkward to do, by the way. It's very awkward, very hard to do. Much easier to cut these hair pieces when they're not on your head. The front hairline's okay, but going back here and stuff, very hard. So mine's probably more like that at this point, cutting off those sort of edges a bit more. So I'll probably modify that in the future. So when you get the hairpiece from Hair Direct, it's likely to be wrapped in this netting, so there are no flyaway hairs or anything in the packaging process. Pull it out of its net. And it's poly. I don't know if you did. They give you these plastic things with lace. They're no good for stencils, by the way. I tried. Don't use that as a stencil. You might, if you've got a full dome thing. The thing is, it doesn't follow the curvature of my head perfectly, right? Unless you're really lucky, that's not gonna, I mean, that's probably not gonna fit your head either. So don't think of that as being a good stencil. It's really hard to draw on and cut out as well, get it accurate. So this is a brand new poly hairpiece. And I spoke to you about the longitudinal alignment being longer in one direction than the other, right? Even if you do that, you can tell that's a shorter distance than this, okay? And I can tell that this is the front because there's an extra bit of plastic sticking out there. It's not intended, by the way, that that plastic will constitute part of the hairpiece. Like if you were to wear this hairpiece and cut it out and leave that plastic on, you might think, well, that's great because now every time I brush my hair, it'll go perfectly from there and I don't have to worry about getting anything caught there. So what, you're just gonna have this plastic stuck to your forehead? No. You don't want the base material, whether it's lace or poly, to just be visible on its own. It looks shit. People can tell, right? No good. The only reason this is hard to tell is because the lace and the base, sorry, the hairs and the base are both together. If you had like lace netting sticking down here with no hairs on it, no good. Same with poly, I just showed you. You can tell, it's just like you've got plastic on your, what's that plastic on your forehead? This is medium dark brown. Color number 4 on Lord Hair's stock piece menu. I don't know what that reference is all, but you can see number 4 written there and all that stuff. I don't know what all that means. So I'm going to take this stencil and place it on there and trace around it, and then place it there and trace around it. I'm not going to place it there and there like I did last time, because that's guaranteed to give me horizontal V-loops. I know that this is guaranteed to give me nose to spine, let's say vertical V-loops. And back here, I don't know. I'm hoping that on the back part of the hairpiece, that's going to go nose to spine as well. Trying to separate the hairs and see through. I know it's good. It's good that it's sunny though. It still makes it hard to see. I'm trying to look through at the sunshine because it's giving me lots of light. I'm really hoping the stitching will be nose to spine. But the thing is, I'm looking at it, I'm seeing some horizontals back here. I'm seeing both horizontal and vertical and diagonal. It seems like it's a mishmash of directions at that point because they didn't care after they did the front bit, because they don't make hairpieces for anyone other than people who need a dome. And like I've said, more people in the world are partially bald than fully bald. So I don't know what their brains are doing at those hair companies to not be selling. I wouldn't be buying a dome if I could help it. I'd be buying a square so I could just trace on, cut it out, see clearly. No, all the hairs are going nose to spine. All the stitchings are going nose to spine. I would not be buying a dome. It makes it much harder to cut things out. So I've got to squeeze that in there and get all this stuff out of my way while I do it. It's very impractical. Why don't I get a custom? I don't want to wait 8 weeks. I don't want to have no deal. Because you buy a bundle and you save money, right? Especially if you use my coupon code at the end of this video, click on it. It'll be a click through for me. If you click something that ends up going to my own channel, and therefore YouTube will push me up into the recommended list for other people, which makes more people come to the channel. Okay, so I'm not sure what's going to happen when I trace around this bit at the back. It's quite difficult to see. Can you tell which direction the loops are traveling in? Me neither. But I know they're good at the front. See, the thing is, I don't want to only get 2 pieces out of it. Like I said, if worse comes to worse, I will wear this with the horizontal V-loops, if absolutely necessary. So that's where I've bleached it on the front. If I decide now that I can flip this around and do it that way, I'll have a blonde line along there back here. So I don't know if that will be ridiculous. I think it probably would be ridiculous. You don't want to bleach on both sides of it. But I'm just thinking, would there be no horizontal V-loops on this end? And the answer is, by the looks of things, actually, this is a better way to look at it. If you look at it from behind into the sun, and you separate the hairs somewhat, yeah, a standard light probably isn't bright enough, but the sun itself gives me more of an indication of the direction of the hairs. I wish I could show you. I haven't got a bright enough light, except for the sun. I can't hold the phone on my neck, right? I'm just trying it that way for you. I wouldn't be able to aim it. But yeah, it looks like here, I'll just draw out for you what I'm seeing. So horizontal there, V-loop, sorry, horizontal, I'll point in the direction that I think it's been stitched. That way, then it goes that way, then it goes, from there it goes down that way, then it goes down that way. It's almost like they've created a butterfly out, sorry, let's say petals, all petal directions, except around the edges or something. It's gonna be very hard for me. And also, the bit that I cut out on the bottom is gonna have that in the middle of it. It's not good. But there's so much wastage now that I'm going to 2 pieces instead of 3. See, I'll have that, and then maybe that I could fit it up above that sticker. But then all of that is gonna be thrown out. Or I could go to the edge there if I thought that's where the nose to spine stitching was. But I can see it's horizontal there, I think. I can't quite tell. It's really hard to tell. I get a feeling that they didn't do V-loops, like vertical V-loops anywhere except the very front. Everything else is just haphazard all over the place. Doesn't matter where I cut it out from. I think every other hairpiece apart from the one from the front is going to be fucked. Why do hair companies do this to us? This is always awkward because it's not a rectangle, it's a fucking dome. So I've got to figure out how to make this sit nicely in this. And I know that they're going to go nose to spine from here because this is the very front, see? And that's the back. You can tell because of the tag, which they should not put there because it's fucking annoying. Or at least make them peel off, but they don't peel off. You'll rip your hairpiece if you try to take it off. Yes, I have tried paint thinner and stuff. It didn't work. Okay, so as you can see, it's going to try to crease in under there like that, which means you'll have the wrong shape. You understand? It's got to be stretched out. Not stretched though, otherwise it'll shrink. Okay, so let's see if I can get right along the front edge there. There is a lot of wastage in this process, so if you know any kids that are trying to put on a play or something, you can provide them with sideburns and mustaches and stuff from the offcuts. Make sure you don't slip the black marker underneath the edge, otherwise you'll have a black mark which will totally be visible when you wear the hairpiece. Perfect. One. That's clearly horizontal there. Then I think it changes directions and goes diagonal there. I really hope Lord Hair and other companies watch these videos because they're the ones who need to stop fucking making shitty hair pieces. Okay? Why can't they do it all in one alignment? They must know that horizontal V-loops are completely unacceptable. Make square ones and make them all exactly the same orientation so we don't have to deal with this shit. Like I say, there are more people who are partially bald than fully bald on this planet. You're throwing away 80% of your market. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 hair pieces from 2 hair pieces. Let me rephrase that. We have 4 stencil cuts from 2 stock pieces. So whatever these cost each, let's say about $100 each, $50, $50, $50. There's $200 worth of hair pieces. They last for 2 months each. We've got 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, 8 months worth of hair pieces out of that. So long as they don't, so long as nothing happens to them. Now cutting them out can't just be done with 2 hands. You need. Phone call interrupted me and we got cut off. So I said we need 3 hands, right? So how many hands do you have? The answer is 4. So I received another call. These, by the way, these called Supras. They are an ice shoe. But a cow had to die for these shoes to exist, so I just haven't found any shoes that are kind of leather free, that are durable and everything else. Okay, so we've used this, we've traced that. Now the 3rd step is to cut out with the scissors. So we'll just put them on the 3rd hand. No, I'm just kidding, I can't do. It's easier to grab hold of things when there's something to grab onto, so instead of cutting this one out first, I'll probably cut out this one so I've got a lot to grab, and then I'll secondly have stuff to grab when I'm cutting that one as well. So I can just manipulate this camera a little bit. When you do cut this out, don't cut through any of these hairs down here, obviously, because that's going to be your top of your hair piece. Also, you want to cut inside, but not too far inside, the black marker. If there's any marker on the outside of the hair piece, it'll be totally visible. I'm just going to try and prove that to you quickly. There, you can see my fingers with the black line running along. Okay. Imagine if that was along your front hairline, it would be totally visible at all times. So you can't have the black marker visible when you cut it out. It is possible to use something like an eyeline pencil to trace that, but I find it sort of crumbles to pieces when you're doing it. So in the end, I've chosen a marker as the most user-friendly. Permanent marker, of course, not a whiteboard marker that smudges in. So you can see how I'm doing that with the scissor blade to make sure I'm dividing any hairs underneath. As many as I can anyway. I'm sure I'm cutting some. So I'm sort of pulling down with my foot as well so I can stretch it out as much as I need to. One. Don't forget, don't think that this is okay, just cut through hairs, because those hairs start back in here, do you understand? all of it is precious. Even though you think that this is just going to be an offcut, the hairs underneath are actually part of the hairpiece. And don't cut too far in away from the marker either, because otherwise your hairpiece will be too small. Two. Look at all this offcut. This is all going in the bin. What a waste, huh? Think of the starving children in Africa. Make the perfect beard and everything as well. I might keep it just in case I become a bikie for an upcoming role. Have a beard and stuff. One, two, three, four. So the hairs here have just fallen down, but you can solve that with a bit of water. Where's, oh, here it is. This is the way muck behaves. You can just wet it again and it'll just reactivate. It looks pretty good the next day. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 that I've just cut out. Now I'm going to wet them all. I hope they're all nose to spine and there are no horizontal V-lips. If there are horizontal V-lips, I hope they're on one side and not the other, and I hope I can detect which side is which. Yeah, it's a lot easier to see which direction the V-lips are running when you wet the hairpiece. So they're nose to spine this side. I don't know about all the way along. I think they are. But you can see how dark they are. You need them to be bleached. You see how my hair is blonde at the front? On the other side, on the back side, I can't tell if they're nose to spine. But let me just work for a second, I'll get back to you. So I'm just flicking off the excess water from all 4 of them. Now I'm going to place each hairpiece. By the way, I've checked every single one of them, and some of them have horizontal ones towards the back, or diagonal, but all of them seem to have front nose to spine in the direction that I've let it get brushed in that direction. I'm brushing it, in fact, in a direction that will prepare it for the day when they're bleached, which I can't do today because, like I said in the beginning, I've run out of bleach. So I will leave these to dry like this. Okay, so I've flicked the excess hair off and I've brushed them all in the direction I need them to be in preparation for bleaching the front edge with blonde hair dye. I'm going to lay them all down here to dry on the bathtub bench. But there are 3 more things that could potentially be done to prepare them before you could say they're absolutely perfect. First thing is we have to bleach the front, obviously. You don't want hairs that dark up against your skin. It just doesn't come out nicely, does it? No, they need to be bleached. Second of all, ventilation. Getting a nail or something and just going tong 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 about 30 times through each hairpiece. So there are heat vents. It's still undetermined whether or not that will work, but logic tells me it will be better than just nothing, no vents for heat at all. And thirdly, around the rim of each of these is always a little bit of a curling lip, less than 1 millimeter around the border where the scissors parted the hairs. And inadvertently, it's impossible not to have done so, to have cut tiny little hairs out right around the outside rim, giving this entire hairpiece and all hairpieces a little border with no hair on it all the way around the outside rim. But I've always found that to be extremely difficult to perceive without putting it on your head first, so that's something I won't even bother with. So that's how you cut out your hairpieces from a stock piece with a stencil. Hopefully your stencil is as small as possible, but likely it's going to be a topper, or like mine, about that long. I'm not going to go through how to make a stencil. I could, but I'm not going to pull this hairpiece off for your sake right now. To do that, you'll just have to look it up on YouTube. You basically wrap your head in cling wrap, and then you tape it with clear tape so you can see everything that's going on. Make sure all the hairs are gelled down and wet and out of the way so you can get a very clear view of where it's going to be. You don't even need to have shaved your head at this point to create a perfect shave zone. You simply need to know which bits you're going to have to shave off because it's so thinning, your hair's so thinning that they're effectively baby hairs, and you will eventually have to shave them all off to create a very nice, clean shaved area so that these things can be affixed 100%. Don't even think about putting these things over the top of your natural hairs. They will not look good. You'll be able to see your ugly, squished, glued in hairs underneath the hairpiece. I think everybody goes through a period of going through this, trying to stick hairpieces on top of their own hair, thinking it'll be okay, but it's not okay, it's never okay. Okay? Good. Okay. So, look that up. You trace that, you make a stencil. The stencil's going to be hit and miss. And then at the end of the day, you put the stencil onto a stock hairpiece or a custom hairpiece, which I'm thinking about getting in the future if these things don't work out. But it looks like they kind of have worked out. And if I can reason through the pricing and think $50 per hairpiece approximately is okay for me, given that they're probably going to last 2 months each, which equals about, how many weeks in 2 months? About 8.5 weeks. Let's just say 8 weeks. So 50 divided by 8 is $12.50. So it's $12.50 a week now for me. I used to be spending less than $10 a week on a hairpiece. Now it's going to be about $12.50 per hairpiece per week. If I have each hairpiece for about 2 months. This one's 3 days old, it's going well. I often take hairpieces off prematurely, throw them away. Because I run experiments on them and I fuck it up and I have to throw it out. But hopefully this one will be fine for the next 2 months. So on day 5, this is day 3, in 2 days time, I should inspect this. I'll look in the mirror from time to time anyway. And I'll go, what the fuck's going on up there? But so far nothing's happened. And I'll check that there is no dirt trying to cling onto the edges on the front hairline or anything like that. I'm going to say also, if you have a brush back look, it's way less maintenance. There's no leverage with a fringe flopping around to lift that front area. So there can't be any movement when I've got a brush back look. It's not my favorite look, obviously, but back into the side is more acceptable than just straight back. But I'd prefer to have, it softens your face more when you've got some fringe happening. So this isn't ideally the best haircut for me, or anyone really. Unless you're going to a ball and you're dressed up nicely, or if you're in a suit or something and you've got a chainsaw in your hand and you're running around with rubber gloves on trying to kill somebody in your house, like in American Psycho. So, I'm not saying that all people who wear suits run around with a chainsaw. I'm just saying most of them do. So, that's it. Hope you learned something.